Okay, now I am calling this method with the object name. If I want to call this method it is not a function now, add method. Now this method is being called with the object name. That object is created for addition class. Addition, this is our class name addition. Now this method function becomes user defined method. Under this block of code up to here, these are wherever I put the hash, they are the comment section. They will not be read by the interpreter. This line, this line, this line, this line, these two lines, these three lines, 5 lines, they will not be read by the interpreter. Only interpreter, whenever you are calling object dot add, it understood, interpreter Python interpreter understood that okay, this method is we are calling this method as a object method. This object created for this addition class, so it goes for addition class. From here it founds that method. Under this method, whatever the lines of instruction, they will be executed one by one. That is, let us compile this code. So this is the error. So addition is a class. Dot add method takes 0 positional argument, but 1 was given. In which line? You need to go forward. In which line? 29th line. Error is where? In 29th line. Where is that error? Here. Actually, whenever you want to call this method as object method, here it is requesting for positional arguments. So you want to access this as an object method. So that moment your method must have a self parameter. It's compulsory. Because why? Because if you want to access this method as a object method, this parameter compulsory. This self keyword indicates that this method belongs to the object, not for the class. Okay, self keyword has so many uses. Self keyword in Python will be used to access the class variables. If here is a variable is here, suppose x is equal to 5, so to access these class variables and to indicate that this method belongs to the object. So now you compile this code. So it is being executed. Now enter first number, put any number. So it is float, and then 7, it is also float. Enter a number one more time. Why? Because try to understand. Initially add means here, from here the line of code to be executed. Object addition, enter a number, given number is odd. So if you again compile this code, see what happened. First line of code executed, Vasu, this memory address, and 4, these Vasu print x. Okay, this is the memory address, length of the, okay, so these 3 statements execute. After that it comes to where? Here, enter this number, enter the first number. So whenever you pass this, enter 5 number, it is requesting for another number 7. So this is sum of this 7 plus 12.0. Now enter last, it comes here, the interpreter comes here. Okay, it is requesting for enter a number. Okay, so if you put any number, that number is odd, 7 is null. So what happened? Now these all of the instructions become the part of this method. Now method part of your class addition. Okay, now this total code can be called only by accessing the method only, by calling that method, either the object method or class method. Here I have called this method as object method. If I don't want to call this method, I want to call this as class method, simply you refer the class name addition dot add bracket. Now what happened? Try to understand. You are calling this method as object method and class method. So at a time, whether it is possible to call this method as object method, class method, try to compile this code. Okay, so next what, you enter a number here, one more number, enter a number. So here it is giving error. Okay, why? Because class first object method, as per this you have passed here. So first object method executed. So whenever you object method executed, after that whenever you want to call this method as addition class method, you want to call this method as class method. So initially your method, you got this result for object method, but after that interpreter wants to execute this method as a class method. So that moment this self parameter we need to remove this. Okay, so either at a time, any time one can be executed, you put this method object method as comment section. Now you are calling this method as a class method without any self parameter. Now you can call it as it is, these 3 lines executed for this. Okay, after that it is requesting for enter a number here. Okay, now one more number it is requesting. So this is 40, sum of these 2 numbers, last enter any number, it will give whether this number is even. So now you have called this method as a class method, okay, without self parameter. So this self parameter, it clearly indicating that if I pass the self parameter here, it indicates that this method belongs to the object, not for the class. Okay, now come here. So whether I can call this method as a class method without the class name, whether it is possible, simply I call this method as add. So it is giving error. So it is add is not defined. Add is not defined means this method we need to define that it is it belongs to where. So it belongs to a class, otherwise object. Okay, object. It is a object method, suppose. Now it is okay. Now that moment if I want to call this as object method, call this object method, I need to pass a parameter self, but the self parameter, it can be anyone. It doesn't mean only call self, me, Vasu, keep my, but that is the first parameter. After that, if you want to keep any parameter that is next of Vasu, suppose if I want to keep some word name string, okay, name is a, suppose f name is first name. So this is self parameter. The first parameter always, okay, so self parameter, otherwise equal to whatever you keep, biscuit chocolate. But then after whatever you keep the parameter, they must be after this self parameter. So once you pass this, now this method is object method. For this, this is what, once you pass a parameter here, for that you need to, whether you need to pass, okay, you compile this code, no issue, it is giving error because you pass one fname parameter in add method. So it is requesting for positional argument. Positional argument, I told you that once you pass any parameter, for that you need to pass, whenever you are calling this method, within this you need to pass fname string. It is fname string. Fname is equal to what? Suppose Miriam. Okay, now whenever you compile this code, now you get this one. Okay, now this is whatever invalid literal for int base in 23 line where, okay, here you because if you put any float number here and that float number you want to convert this into, put the float here function, okay, float function. So now if you convert this, okay, if you put some number here, okay, you compile this code, now everything is being executed.